Hi guys, how are you all today? I hope everybody had a good, safe New Year's. Say hi, say where you're from. So you never know, the person next to you may be stitching. And you may find a new friend in this area. One never knows. Wonder what that was. Um, I don't know about y'all, but I have been getting a lot of weird text messages these days. It seems like everybody wants to give us a little money from some kind of just cash disbursement. I'm about over it. Hi, Robin. Good afternoon from Southern California. Good to see you again, Pat. Good to see you, Shirley. Hi, Shelda. Hi, Sharon. Hi, Tina. Last week, I don't remember who sent in the question because y'all know I felt like crap last week. But the question was asked how to rearrange designs on the Luminaire to change the sewing order. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, and then we'll go on from there to the other questions that were sent in this week. It's probably going to be a little bit of a short one. So Caroline, hey, it's sunny and cold here as well. We were only supposed to get a dusting, maybe an inch and a half, and we got about maybe 6 or 7 inches here of snow. It was a shock to wake up to. Only in the South can you go from 80 degrees in the morning to 20 overnight. You can go through 3 seasons all in one evening. It's absolutely hysterical for that. I mean, because we were 78 degrees Sunday. And then all of a sudden, wow, Sunday night, here comes the snow. About 7:30, we started changing over to snow. So, all right, guys, I'm going to flip over to my other camera, and we will start with how to change the order of embroidery on the Luminaire. And that was Upgrade Kit 2, just so you know. I had to go in and look it up myself because I couldn't remember which upgrade kit that came in. It came in Upgrade Kit 2. So let's go flip a camera and I will walk you through that, and then we'll get back over here and play in software. So, all righty, guys. At the Luminaire, what you need to know and understand is that it will not allow me to change the order of sewing within a single design. So if this design is here, it's not when I go in to set it, and if I try to edit that and change the order of sewing down here, that is grayed out. However, the original digitizer digitized it will be the order of sewing there. So you don't get to change that one, okay? But if you add multiple segments yourself, let's say we wanted to put in, let's see here. We want to put in these 2 ballerinas. We'll set that one. I'll just duplicate it. So if I copy and paste it and mirror it and pop that one over here, then I have the option of changing the sewing order. You'll see right there that pops up. You can also come in and add. So let's say you wanted to add in the name first. You wanted that to stitch first, and then you wanted the ballerinas to come in and stitch afterwards. That's when you can change that sewing order. So you come into your sewing order rearrangement in the edit menu. This one right here takes it all the way to the beginning. This one moves it up 1 step, and you can see where it is. So the first design that's going to stitch is this one. The second one is this one. The third one is the text. So if I move my text up 1, it's going to sew in between the 2. So now my right ballerina would sew, the text would sew, and then the left ballerina would sew. If I had done this one right here, it would have thrown the text all the way to the beginning. Once you've changed the order, I mean, let's say I grab this one instead. So if you touch that one and you say, I really want that one to sew last, you can move it down 1 spot, or you can say sew last, which is the last option. The only things that can be used will be active. So you'll notice there I'm on the last item, so sew last, and moving it down is not an option, but I can now move it up in the sewing order. This one moves it up 1 spot. This one moves it all the way to the beginning. Okay. Any questions on that? All right, I mean, that's really the basics on how that works. It's no matter where you bring the design in from, whether it's on the machine itself, from my design center. So a lot of times you'll see us bring in designs in parts from my design center. So for instance, let's say I was making an in the hoop bag and I want to do the stitching on the front first. So let's say I do my design center and I grab a stamp. And we're going to do my little flower here, and I'm going to put in a little circle in the center of it. And let's shrink that down. So if I'm turning this into an in the hoop bag, a lot of times exactly what I'll do is I'll put what I want to embroider on the front of it and set it down in my hoop first. And then I'll bring in my pieces. So if I knew this was an in the hoop project, I would go in and add my next segment. And sometimes we forget which order we put these in. So really, this is where the changing the order comes in handy. So I'm going to say there's my first piece. And I want that to be a running stitch. So this is just for me to lay my fabric down. I'm going to give that as a running stitch. And I'm going to make this so we're going to say this is going to be a mug rug. Go in and add again. Go back into my design center, and I'm going to come back into that shapes menu. And once again, and I'll make it back to where it's basically just a little bit smaller than the hoop. But this time I would want it to be able to turn. So in this case, I would take my eraser and open up a little part of it here. So that would be my last sewing segment. Let me change that to a triple stitch because that's what I would normally have that changed to. And then set it. So I've got 3 segments. My flowers right now stitching first, but what if I wanted my box to stitch first? This is where this comes in handy. So if I touch edit, my 1, 2, 3 button, I can grab piece number 2 and move it to sew first. And then my base piece would stitch, my flower would stitch, and then this is my turning spot. That would be, puts it all together. Basically, you put your back fabric on, stitch it together, and then turn it through the opening that you left. So that's really how the changing the sewing of order works for you in the Luminaire. Okay. Let me see. Let me come back over here and see if there's any questions now that we're done with that part. And it's technically a software question because it's software in the machine. So Carrie, you got a snow dump there as well? Wow, I didn't know that. I didn't think you guys got any. All right, guys. So that is specifically on the Luminaire. Now, if you have software, you could have done that whole kit and caboodle in the software program. You could rearrange it and have it in the order that you wanted in the software program. But if you didn't, if you were at the sewing machine and you were doing it at the sewing machine, it's always nice that we have an option there. Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that amazing? I mean, just making it, just being able to turn something inside out. It works perfectly whether you're doing it in the software or whether you're doing it on my design center. And Cindy, I sent you an email today, so you might want to check your email. Okay, guys, so let's go in. The first question that I had today was on how to create a programmable stitch in PE Design 11. I'm sure I have covered this before because I'm pretty sure we did programmable stitches. Happy New Year to you too, Judy. Programmable stitches, motif stitches, and decorative fills. I'm pretty sure I did all those at one time or like within a little series of things, but never hurts to touch them again. So we'll go back to the programmable stitch creator in PE Design 11. Now, the first thing before we start that, what exactly is a programmable fill? A programmable fill is a stitch that basically is a fill stitch, but it weaves a pattern within that fill stitch. So it generally weaves it within a satin stitch, but you can actually change that. Programmable fills, the maximum size that they're going to stitch is basically 10 millimeters, and that's tiny. It's a centimeter. I mean, it's tiny. So you don't want to get real excited about this. So let's say you're doing a house. You don't want to do the house with 10 windows and a door and shingles and a chimney, because you're just going to have a big old blob, okay? You're basically looking for a general shape. You don't want to get super excited about doing these because you can't see that detail. So you really want to think about what you're doing. It's a small, on a programmable fill, it's a teeny tiny area. So you're looking in your programmable stitch creator and you've got this big old square and you think, well, I need to fill that in. Well, no, you don't. Okay. So you really need to think about it. Keep it very simple in order for you to be able to get the effect that you want. Now, one of the things that I'll tell you is you can understand when people got programmable fills. I believe it was back in version 4. If you were an Anne the Grand person way back when, if you go back through them and you look way back when we got programmable fills, it was version 4. And everybody and their dog put a gazillion programmable fill stitches in their designs. What you need to keep in mind is it greatly increases your stitch count, and it also greatly increases the likelihood that your fill stitches will not meet if you put it on a stretchy item. So you need to be aware of where your design element is going to start and stop stitching. That can change based on the direction of the stitch and based on where you have applied the stitch at. So those are some things that you really need to keep in mind. And don't get super excited about these and put them on everything, because it's overkill. They're used for accents and to draw attention to specific areas, but you really don't want an embroidery design that is completely decorative fills, or not decorative fills, programmable fills. It's just not attractive and it's not going to stitch as well. So just keep that in mind. They're great in small doses, but it's not something that I would go overkill on, because you truly can go overkill on these guys. All right, let's go look at it, and let me share my screen. So here we go. And this is the wrong program, so let me flip it. There we go. All right, so I am in layout and editing. And how do you get to everything from layout and editing? Well, you go up to the options pull-down menu, and we are going to choose the programmable stitch creator. Okay. So here it pops up. Hold on a second. I got to flip it over to the other window for you to be able to see it. So this is our programmable stitch creator window. And when you go up to the application menu, the little stitch looking icon there, you would choose new fill stamp pattern. All right. When you go to your view tab, you actually want to do the view tab, because it depends on how you want to create something. Do you want to be able to do a circular pattern? If you do, then you might want to turn off your grid. So if you take the grid down to nothing, then you can do any curves that you want. If you have your grid on, your design is going to snap to the grid regardless. Now, the easiest thing to start with is just basically doing yourself a little triangle here, or a little diamond. So do yourself a little diamond, and you might split it. And there we go. Doesn't really matter how exciting you get. Let's look at it in our preview window. That's always a nice thing to see. What does my preview window look like? What's it going to look like when stitched? So here's your preview window. Now, there are other options for programmable fills, and we'll save this one first as just a regular programmable fill. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to choose Save As, and we'll call this Diamond. And I'm going to put an A in front of it because it's going to be mine. So I know what it is, a diamond. And you'll notice the default size right now is 7.5 millimeters. So that's what it's going to come in as a default. If you want it to be max, you can put 10 in there, and that's the maximum size that it can save as. So that would always default it to that. Now, this is your plain one. You also have region engrave and region emboss. So if you want this stamp to have partials to be engraved and partials to be embossed, you can come in and have fun. So the embossed regions are going to be blue, B for boss. That means they fluff up. And the engraved regions will be red. So if I come in here and I touch in there, you'll notice how that turned red. So let's say I want those two areas to be engraved and these two areas to be embossed. So these areas will fluff, these will smush. That's how I remember it. Red is engrave, it's digging in, like you're digging a grave. Embossed is blue for B because it's the boss and it's going to fluff up. So let's save this one as our diamond emboss. A diamond. All right. I probably can't have that character in there, so let me do this underscore. There we go. So I know what I've got. And you'll notice I'm saving these in my program files because it makes it's going to make it easier for me to access. If I were truly doing this for myself, I would probably switch it to someplace else. But let's go in here and grab a shape in layout and editing now that we've got that ready. And we're going to come in and we're going to change it to a programmable fill stitch. And then over in the right-hand side, as you scroll down, you'll see right here, this is where the programmable fill is selected. So you can either click on the file folder or on the big programmable fill to pick it up. And I picked up the big programmable fill to pick it up. Now, this is my plain diamond. So I'm going to select it and click OK. And I want you to see what it looks like. So this is my plain diamond. Doesn't look much like a diamond with my direction at 0 degrees and my angle of my stitch at 45. If I adjust my stitch, let's say I change my stitch down to 2, the direction of the stitch, you'll notice now that you see more of that angle adjustment. But you'll also notice that at the default size of 10 millimeters, that's kind of a big satin stitch area. So there's certain spots that it's going to break it up. Let me change my color and you may be able to see that a little bit better. So can you see how it's broken up the stitch in some places? Now, if you come in and let's go, say we picked the one that has the emboss and engrave. When I click OK, you'll notice, so do you see how part of it is embossed? This is the blank space basically in between them. This is your engraved piece. This is your embossed piece. Let me zoom in on that for you to see. This is the blank space in between them. This is the engraved. So this is actually our stamp right here. These are the two embossed areas. These are the two engraved areas. Now, if we go back to our programmable stitch that we had, if you want to break that up to where you don't have that big diamond in the middle, you can come in and draw around it to where the whole thing is enclosed. So now you see you're going to have a pattern within a pattern. And once again, you could come in and say, all right, I want to switch and I want those blue. And I want these green or red, not green. So let's do this and do a save as so you can see the difference here. So a surround, just so you all can see the difference. So now, even though you're not going to see a difference in the stitch color over here, basically that's a misconception. It's just going to weave this pattern within it. So this is everything embossed and engraved, and that's what you get when you look at it. So you'll notice now it looks more like a pinwheel effect because of the way we changed it to where it had embossing and engraving all the way around it. Okay. And you can also change the direction of the pattern itself. So if you rotate, you can rotate the angle of the pattern itself instead of rotating the angle of the stitch. There are various options that you can play with. And just so you all know, in your Digitizing So Easy workbook, programmable fills start on pages 429. So that'll give you information on how to actually use it a little bit more effectively. But like I said, it's not about the house and the windows and the chimney and all of that. It's more about an overall effect that you're looking for and how to achieve that overall effect. So don't go nuts about it. Now, the other thing I do want to show you real quickly before I forget about it is remember I told you that the important part is to know where it starts and stops stitching. And I can tell you here on a circle that it's going to start and stop in the center of that circle. So you see bottom center is where it's going to start for that one. But as you watch it, when it goes to the fill on this one, based on the angle that I selected, it's going to go top to bottom, which is perfect. Okay. So even though my understitching started in the bottom center, it finished where I needed it to go. So I don't always need to change this where it starts and stops. Let me change this back to 45. And let's see what happens this time. So if we come in, we play with it, you can see that it started bottom center. Now it's going to go left to right. And let's see where it finishes. If it finishes and there's a gap, that wouldn't be optimal. But this one, I see right there, that wouldn't be optimal. I would actually want it to start and stop over here at this point right here, because it is going to finish up there. So in that case, you would select the area, go to the select tool down arrow and choose to select entry exit point. I personally turn off my outline stitch when trying to play with this so that I can find the R1 and the R2. And I want R1, the most important one is R2, that it finishes out at that end. So you come, you watch it sew. And if you don't see the simulator on your software program, go to where? Your view tab. So see how that finished, that fill area finished right there? That's perfect. That's what I would want to do. Okay. So that's that. And I'm going to come back over here and see if there's any other questions. So yeah, it can get you can get a little absorbed in it, and you can keep going and going and going, and you get down in that rabbit hole. But really, some really basic designs will make that, just some basic design element changes can make and break a design. And if you choose to just use it in small areas, I think you'll be much, much better off. Daniel, I'm so glad to hear that your wife is doing much better. That's awesome. Okay, guys. The next one was from Deborah, I believe. And she wanted to know how to arrange designs, multiple lace designs in a hoop in BES4 in order to split them for the jumbo frame. And they were lace designs, and she was going to add text to them. So I'm not real sure about the whole adding text thing on a lace design. I would probably hedge my bets with that and put a little tool in there just so in case, or organza. Actually, organza is probably what I would use, just so that you give your text something to grip onto. In BES4, when you select the jumbo frame, you don't actually see the little dash line that's going across it. I would try as hard as I could, if I were you, to keep design, since you're trying to do lace and you want things to line up perfectly, I would try my hardest to keep any designs off that split area. I would get it as close up to it as I could. But since you're trying to do lace, you don't want a big old hump in the middle of it. So there's about a 10 millimeter area that would be your gappage area. That's where things are going to overlap a bit. And that's where I would try to keep my designs off of. But you'll be able to kind of preview it, I think. I'm trying to remember. But the first thing that you're going to do is you are going to open your BES4. And this is a Power Pack 1 feature, okay? Go to your hoops. Select hoop. choose multi-needle, and it's the 360 by 360 jumbo frame. If you do not have the Brother Jumbo frame, this is not the frame you are looking for. This process only works with that jumbo frame that's those dimensions. Now, there are some off-market or secondary market hoops, some Durkee frames. There is a jumbo frame for that. So like their auto quilt sash border frame, the new one that they did, the 14 by 14, it would technically fall in the jumbo frame category as well. So just kind of keep that in mind. It is specifically for something that's called the jumbo frame. So it has to be the 14 by 14 or 360 by 360 millimeters. And I've got that applied. So the next thing that I do is I kind of come in here and I'll add myself a ruler, a guideline. So see that little, well, it does help if you have your cursor to where it's going to hold it. So see that little dash line across there? That gives me the center for my hoop. And that's where the split is going to be. And if you kind of give yourself a little bit of margin on both sides of that, just so you know where not to really place your design. You're wanting to kind of avoid that center part. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is just kind of giving you that, just simply because you're doing lace, okay? If I were doing something besides lace, not as big of a deal. But since you're wanting to do lace, that would be kind of a big deal. What if you want to put multiples in here, you're going to merge your design because you've purchased your design, but I'm going to grab something here from my designs category because I think I have a little lacy design right here. There we go. So here's my little lace design. This would not be a freestanding lace design. Let me see. I know we've got one. So let's go up to merge. I'm going to go into my P design folder because I am nigh on to positive there is a freestanding lace design in there. Program files, Brother, P design 11. Where is that? Library. Design library. And I think it's in lace and ribbon. There we go. So let's see here. I want to see what I've got. All right, this is a freestanding lace design. So I'm going to open that one right there. Now, if you want to maximize it, you can go to your Tools tab, Arrange, and choose Arrange on Rows. And then you can choose how many you want across and how many you want down. Apply it and click OK. So I still probably have some that I could play with, but this would be where I would start. And then I would probably move them apart since you're going to make them freestanding. But that gets you the number of designs on there that you want. Now, obviously, this is going to be a split. This is what you would like to try to avoid. But if you're going to split them, go ahead and do it loud and proudly. And then you would just come in and add your text. Okay. So that's really, I mean, it's going to be one of those, think about it, try to plan it out to where you don't have it in the split, but not having the exact design that you're trying to do. It's one of those that you're not sure of. Now, what I will tell you, I wonder if my 10 needle is on. My 10 needle's not on. Hold on. And it does not have an SD card in it. Now, when you go up to send it to your machine, when you go up to the application button and you choose machine, send to machine, this is specific to this hoop. You want to make sure you choose Brother Baby Lock Auto Split PES version 9. That's the one that will split the design for you. Okay. That is what you want to make sure you do. If you're not going wireless and you want to save it to a USB drive, save as. Once again, make sure you choose that auto split version of PES. Okay. that will actually split the design for you, and you can save it to your USB drive. Okay, so I'm going to come back over here and see, is there any other questions? No? You guys are awful quiet today. I do not see any other questions. All right, guys. Well, oh, I remember what the other question is. Back to PE design. Okay, so did that answer your question, Deborah? Hopefully that will work for you. Just kind of keep in mind, you want to make sure that you try your best to keep it off that center, okay? All right, let's come back over here. So the other question was adding a decorative fill to a circle or a heart or something. So that one's really not, this one y'all are going to find extremely easy. It adds just like any other stitch. So you can select it from the fill stitch menu first before you draw, or second after you draw. So here is my heart with a decorative fill. If I want to pick a different decorative fill, I select in my sewing order window, select the decorative fill pattern. Let me find them and bring them over here. And then select the pattern that you want to place in it. So there are tons of them built in, as you know. I think, what did I say? There are 54 built in, and you can create your own. So if you want to grab one of the 54 that are built in, select it, apply it, and you can change the size. This one's at 2 inches right now. You can take it down as low as you want to go, pretty much, and up as high as you want it to go. Oh, that's 19 point. No, we didn't want to do that. I wanted to do 40. Oh, I'm in inches. Oh, hold on. Let's change it to 45 millimeters. There we go. So now it's down to about half the size. Let's do 20 millimeters. You notice as you go down in number, it changes the size down. So that's really how that works. Okay. Sewing order and in P design is right here. If you don't see it, go to your view tab and make sure that it is turned on. If it is turned on and you still don't see it, that means you've hidden it from yourself. I'll go back into this again. If you've hidden, let me undo, and I can't really hide it from myself very well, but somehow you all managed to do this and I've yet to figure it out, but somehow you all are very good at getting things off your screen and gone forever, never to be seen again. So I'm going to close all of my windows here, and there we go. So everything's closed. I'm going to turn off my stitch simulator. I'm going to turn off my sewing order window, and then I'm going to try to turn them on. My stitch simulator comes in. My attributes, you want to make sure they're all turned on. Those are still there, but and my import pane, I always have all of those up. But if you happen to lose these items, you can go up to the options pull down menu and choose options. Go to user interface settings and reset pane position. When it says this setting will be applied after you restart the application, click OK again, close your program, and restart it. Once it restarts, everything, if it's turned on, should be back in its home position. So you don't have to figure it out. It will be back in its default location. Okay. Deborah, no, it's a slightly different in PE design. Okay. In PE design, if you're doing the jumbo frame, this was it's actually very simple. When you come into the hoop settings, you select the PR hoop, come down here, choose jumbo frame, and click OK. Now, let's say we're doing a big old circle. There we go. My circle's ready to go. Home, Send a network machine. And I believe that is Emma. If it's recognized her. And if it's not turned on, it'll ask you to add the machine in, and it should find Emma here in just a minute, because evidently I didn't have mine totally turned on to where it was connected to my network. Wonder what, this should still be Emma. Yep, there she is. Okay, so let's select the machine, select add, click OK, and now let's send it back to the machine. And it should tell me OK. And it'll automatically divide it up into part A and part B. So it's finished outputting the data, and that is ready to go. All right, let me come back over here and see what we've got. The stamp and emboss feature was in PE design, yes. Can I make a heart as the fill? I certainly could. You would have to make a heart as, you'd have to create one. So let's go back over here. Programmable stitch creator. Let me see. Let's see if we've got one automatically. And let's switch back to a smaller hoop, because this will take forever for it to fill it in. Ooh, hello. Okay. So shapes, programmable decorative fill. Sewing attributes, and let's see, do we have a heart? I don't recall seeing a heart, but that doesn't mean there's not one. I do not see a heart. Okay, so just like we did with the programmable stitch creator in the first part, let's do File, New Decorative Fill Pattern. So if you wanted to create a heart, this would require curves. So I would turn off my grid. And I would probably personally bring in a piece of clip art that has a heart in the background so that I can have something to follow along with. But since I don't have that currently, we'll just kind of eyeball this and see what I can do. Don't judge my heart drawing skills here right now. Okay, so if you need to modify it, you come in your edit point tool, and you can come in and manipulate your edit nodes to where you can make it look to be a prettier heart than it was. And I would tell you that you kind of want to fill up all of the space. It was better before I started playing with it, to be perfectly honest. And it probably would work better if I started it on a side, just so we keep that in mind because of the travel stitches. That would be my thought. So if I were doing this again, I would probably start on the side just to see how it would travel. But you want them to where they kind of connect. Connection is your best option when you're talking about a continuous fill. So you want to make sure it fills up the space. And you can tell that if it's going to by how much spaces get, how much gapping is in between them. And so in this, in order to make it not be a gap, you may end up like making a fake heart. There are various ways around things, and you'd have That one would be that would take some work to figure out exactly how to make that work the way I would want to. I will show you what I would do personally, but let's go in here. Oops, let's save it. And we'll call this one A Heart and save it. Okay, so back over here, come in to select your decorative fill, and let me find them to bring them over to that screen for you. Where is my mouse? There we go. There's my heart. It is at 100 millimeters, so it's going to basically take up all of the space in there. Let's change it down to 30. There you go. So as you watch it stitch, you'll see whether it's going to jump or not. That would be the biggest thing that you want. See how that one's going to jump around? That would not be optimal. It's kind of, you have to figure out how it's going to sew. That one's one I would have to play with a little bit to be able to get it. Okay. Now, what I would tell you, Cindy, you could, but I don't know how well that would work. Just simply whether it would be continuous once again. But what I would do personally, instead of doing a decorative fill on that, I would do a motif stitch, because I can make a motif any size I need it to be. And all I have to do is make the actual shape. And you're basically making this from a piece of string. So I'm adding a little node everywhere I want it to go. I'm going to take this down to the bottom center. And I'll take this down to the bottom center. And then I'll make my heart. This, I think, would be the easier path to keep it from jumping on you. You would not have near the jump stitches that you would a heart as a decorative fill. There are reasons that they're made the way they're made. And y'all are going to laugh at my heart skills today. This is your start point. And this is your end point, the red. So it starts at the blue and ends at the red. And as long as you make things match up in between, you're good to go. Once again, not my finest heart, but you get the concept. And then save it. And when you go over to apply it, so go up to your shapes menu, choose motif stitch. Select your motif, and this one would be a heart motif, which is this one right here. And you can make it any size that you want it to be. So maintain aspect ratio. I can make that one now up to 100 millimeters, basically. So it can be up to an inch and anywhere in between. And you can reduce the space in between it. You can have fun all you want to with that, okay? That would be personally what I would do, okay? Are there any continuous decorative fills? No, there are not. To make it continue, you can make it continuous up to 1,000 millimeters. Do the math. 1,000, so basically 40 inches worth of decorative fills repeating that you could do, because that's as big as you can make a split design, 1,000 by 1,000. So beyond that, it's going to have an outline around it. So that's as far as you can go. Okay. So good to see you, Anja. Now, okay, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. That would be, instead of doing a decorative fill, though, I think you would have more success with a motif. I just think it will be a whole lot easier. Okay, guys. If there are no other questions, then I guess that's it for this week. If you have questions for next week, send them in. So Robin, I'll do stamp and emboss next week. I'm sure I've done that. I know I've done that before. We talked about textured fills sometime around this time last year. For some reason, our creative juices start flowing in the wintertime. So it was sometime around the first of the year last year that I started playing with decorative, with stamps and motifs. Because that is that's a way to add a decorative element without doing a programmable stitch to an entire area. You just stamp it where you want it to go. So that is when I would use it, is just to add a decorative element to one thing. So let's say you're doing a collar on a child's shirt, and you're digitizing a child's shirt, and you want to have something, you want to make an indentation to show that the collar's there, or you want to give it a little bit of texture to show that it's got a different kind of fabric to it, then that's when I would just add a little bit of stamping in there to give it that texture. It's more of a, let's give it a little bit of texture to make it a fun. Okay. But yeah, I'll do it again. It's not a big deal. It's just one of those that, okay. Sorry, Edna. I did see that question, but I didn't. No, you do not need the rhinestone starter kit necessarily if you already have BES2 Power Pack 2. There are some different, you can get some different looks when you have the rhinestone starter kit in from Brother, but it's not necessary to have both. The tools come in with the rhinestone starter kit that you get with Brothers. So if you don't want to buy your own tool, but it's basically a paintbrush and some rhinestones and the template material and the transfer tape. So the transfer tape and the template material you can buy as refills. All right. Any other questions, guys? Hey, Miss Dory, good to see you here. So you guys have a great rest of the week. We are feeling better here. Not perfect yet, but we are feeling better. It was a kicky. So anyhow, you guys have a great rest of the week, and I'll see you next Tuesday. Hopefully, all things going well. Last week of the month, you will not see me because I have a brother meeting, actually an in-person brother meeting. So you will not see me the last Tuesday of the month. All right. So guys, a few of you, I did send emails out to both the week of Christmas and today. So you might want to go back and check your email and make sure that you didn't miss something from me. So let me know. All right. We'll talk to you later. Have a great rest of the week. Bye-bye.